Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Paddock. Today, I have Jim Lindley here again. We're going to elaborate a little bit more on sales. Hello, Jim. How are you today?
Hey, good morning, Austin. How are you doing today?
Good morning.
Looks like you're
Pretty good.
catching a wave there in the background.
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
Yes, there it
Well,
is.
that's a great thing. If you're under the wave and you're like, "Oh my God, the wave's crashing over me."
No, you want to be riding that wave,
That's
man.
right.
That
You want to
momentum.
you want to ride that wave, but sometimes you got to swim to get there, right? You got to like
That is true.
swim into the wave. Sometimes you got to swim to the wave. Sometimes you got to swim crossways.
And
So,
remember, you got to sometimes go through it in order to go get it.
yeah, that's right. Last time we talked a bit about like kind of sales patterns that were like coming around again. You have a lot of experience in sales before the internet and during the internet and like right before social media, right?
That is correct. Yeah,
You did a little social media work with the paper shredding company who were working with people that were had some developmental disabilities or something like that.
that is correct.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I went out and found work for them.
That's
It,
super cool.
oh,
Yeah, that was one thing I was big on too, is like turning our non-obvious disabilities into our non-obvious abilities.
oh yes. And I'd been, like say, Austin, I've been in commission sales basically my entire career, and by going to work for this not for the almighty dollar. But there's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't. I've experienced it, all the thrills and some of the heartaches, and we'll probably cover that today because there are heartaches in sales.
Oh yeah.
There's you're
Um,
going to have a super high, and you think the next day, all of a sudden, you are in the Grand Canyon at the bottom.
yeah. And it's like, how am I going to get through this? And there's the anxiety of the high and the low. And where's that middle ground? Is the middle ground trending down? Is it trending across or is it trending up?
Yep.
I made some little notes. I was going to like pull them up real quick. So I wanted to talk about what did it look like with building trust, engaging customers, communication, pressure-free sales, and longevity in relationships. So basically, like even building trust with yourself. You just mentioned like you have a high and then a low, and then you're like, wait, I got to just keep trusting to move forward, right? Do you want to
That is
talk a
correct.
little bit about that? Like the highs and the lows and keeping going?
Oh, most definitely. In the early days of something that probably a lot of people don't understand is it's called software packaging. And we got onto the cutting edge of that. And what software packaging was at the time was basically the documentation for a software program would go into like a ring binder and then some sort of a sleeve. And this was all developed by IBM. We were working with a company in San Diego called Courseware, which was actually working with IBM on trying to establish some norms for software packaging. Of course, now there's nothing, it's all right. You go to a website and just download information. But at the time, it was all you had to read a lot of information in order to operate the program. We were doing a lot of that, and I was able to uh, hook up with the gentleman that I had known who was getting involved with software packaging. It was some very well-known companies, and we had originally, and what I'm going to lead to is the highs and the lows, putting together. It was actually at the time was one of the largest jobs that our company had ever done. We were actually going to be doing the binder, printing of the binder. It was all special custom printing. We were going to do all the index tabs that went into the binder, various sleeves and items that went into the actual uh, documentation itself. So we had initially done a 5,000 unit rollout, which was very profitable for me. And they were really trying to go really on a national scale, really big.
What year was this about?
Oh gosh, that would be probably in the 90s, Austin, I believe. And it was the company called Software Products International, SPI.
Oh, I know now. I know the acronym SPI.
Okay, yeah, SPI.
Yeah.
And their program, I believe, was an accounting program called Open Access.
Oh, so guys were putting together all the paperwork to go with the software packaging. Okay.
We were
Okay.
actually doing all the packaging, and a lot of it
Oh,
was all
okay.
paper type oriented.
You know
And
what's so interesting? This now it's making me think of the current equivalent. The current equivalent is this like platforms like Kajabi. It's called Kajabi. It's in Orange County actually.
okay,
And what it does is it sets up the packaging, not with paper, but digitally, like this platform with all the layout and all the stuff and all the training videos and all the pictures and everything. So
there,
it's interesting that you're like, but I think this is what we talked about last time. There's like a shift back to like people like they're tired of being on the computer all the time and they like want to actually hold paper or touch something. Maybe you could work that a little bit in as you talk a little bit more about this packaging of the products.
yeah. And what had happened on it, again, we had done our initial rollout. And the biggest thing we found out, and this was, I was working with our international paper company, was our parent company, is that you got to be able to get paid for your work because it was notoriously known a lot of these software companies were popping up. People would deliver goods and services, and guess what? Never got paid. So
Yeah.
we had heard of some other of our competitors that actually had closed their doors because all of a sudden they had a half million, three-quarters of $1 million of bills that they were never going to collect from because these software companies were they were coming out so fast with new products and this and that, and so you had to get paid. So on our initial rollout, we ended up having to get letters of credit from the bank and just guaranteed to get paid. I actually involved our corporate finance people involved in the whole thing. Said, you guys, okay, I got the job. You guys worry about the getting the money. That's your. So anyway, we did the initial rollout. Long story short here, and they wanted to then really go big. It was really go big. The numbers, Austin, were really staggering for our company. We didn't know how we were actually going to be able to produce the quantity that they wanted.
Right.
So we figured out we're going to find a way. So the day of wanting to get together with the CEO on a Friday afternoon, I had confirmed the appointment with the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of SBI. I was bringing in my immediate sales manager, my national sales manager, one of our CFO from New York had all flown in to San Diego for our 10 o'clock on a Monday morning meeting. So anyway, and we were meeting in the CEO of Software Products International office to get all these letters of credit because this is going to be about a $500,000 to $750,000 job.
So in today's dollars, that'd be about 4 million bucks.
Oh, it'd be a lot. Yeah. Yeah. We wanted to get guaranteed payment. So Friday afternoon, I talked to the CEO. Are we ready to go for 10 o'clock? We're ready to go, Jim. Show up here with your guys. We'll get it all ironed out. We get to the meeting site in Chirano Valley at their headquarters. We go into the CEO's office. I started the meeting off. And as soon as I opened my mouth, I knew something was off.
Oh,
And because the CEO leans
like you
back and,
just felt it in your body?
oh, I just felt it.
What did you feel? I want to know about these feelings. Tell us.
Oh, it was a cold feeling. It was not it was one of those low feelings. And believe me,
Oh,
something's up because he was very hesitant in speaking.
oh.
I started the meeting off and he said, okay, why are we here today? That's the question the CEO posed of me. I said, we're here to collect the letters of credit and the guaranteed payment on our upcoming product we're going to be producing for you. Your fine, upstanding product. Put a little spin on it. There's been a change over the weekend. And what it amounted to, they had a foreign investor who owned a company similar to ours in Germany, had invested in the company over the weekend and was going to produce all the packaging in Germany. We were out. So when I talk about the highs, you can see the low.
Yeah. Oh
because this
yeah.
was going to put a lot of money in my pocket. And it was going to put a lot of money in the company's pocket too. It was a very custom type of packaging. So it was like we got out and everybody looked at each other and just said basically, what the hell happened? That somebody had bigger money coming in.
Or just whatever, right? Like it's his buddy or whatever. And I've had things like this happen too, where it's you walk in, you think it's gonna happen something else. And then what's interesting is like that person will end up totally screwing up. And then they come back and ask you if you can still do it. And you're like, yeah, I can do it, but the terms have changed, right? Because
Oh,
now we've
sure.
seen like the predictable behavior is that they scram, right? So then since they run away, it's okay, let's get that money first. Then we'll do phase one of the packaging, phase two, phase three, whatever. So it's interesting. Have you dealt with those kind of dynamics where it's like something happens and then they come back around and then
Well, and yeah,
how do
you
you
got to
deal with
really, if you can come back around, and that's the
that?
thing is to
Right.
make sure that what they're asking you now to do, you can cover yourself because the ultimate goal is not only to make the sale. I used to be excited about getting the sale. Now, all right, this is great, especially when you're basically responsible for it. And then it was excited when the sale, when whatever you were producing shipped. That meant you're invoicing it. Okay. Now you
Mhm.
get excited about that too. Then the ultimate goal is you got to get paid before you're going to be able to collect any commissions because
Right.
nobody's going to be fronting you a commission. So then the excitement was to make sure you got paid. It's wonderful to get the sale, but it's a whole process beyond the sale to make sure you get paid. And there's nothing wrong with making a profit.
What's so interesting right now is they've shortened the timeline and all of that to be super fast.
Oh,
If
yes.
you're on TikTok and you're scrolling through and you see something you want to buy, all you got to do is double click the side and that's it. Boom, you got it. And then if it's part of a referral program or whatever, then TikTok handles and moves the money. And then what's interesting is not just TikTok, like all of these companies are realizing that us individuals are our own brand. And
Oh,
when they
that's true.
realize that we are our own brand, then they're like, oh, now they have all these referral programs and affiliate programs because they're like, they've got people, right? My followers, if they see that I'm like, hey, I really like this, like they'd be curious to buy it. And so these
Sure.
companies are getting smart to this and they're like, oh, we're gonna have an affiliate program. And even Amazon has it too. Like you can have like a wish list thing and people can buy the stuff you have. For example, like I did a picture of my whole setup this morning, including this little stand. Like people might be like, they're gonna ask, where did you get this? And then suddenly I have an Amazon link where I get like a little kickback or whatever. So
Oh, yeah.
the economy, it's shortened that time frame with the referral and all this, but then also people, every person is becoming like the new mall, right? Everybody's Instagram is like the new mall. I don't know how many people are going to the mall anymore. So it's there's this shift of sales of like things are happening fast, but also like people are getting tuned into this like high pressure anxiety sales. Let's get on a call, bros or hoes or whatever,
Oh,
and be
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and oh, let's get on a call and let's do this. And they make you feel like then you ride the low of you can't do this unless you hire us. They're ping-ponging their emotional nervous system. And I think that as the next election comes up and global stuff going on and economy and things are like cramping in and housing prices and housing, what do they call it, interest, housing interest is a little high. I was talking to some lenders the other day and they were like, yeah, we were doing like each salesperson was doing like 40 homes a month, right? Now they're doing like 4 to 6, and it's like,
Yes.
ooh, so that's, remember you said the whole Grand
Oh,
Canyon
yeah.
thing, so it's like, now this is what I really wanted to get to, and we can weave it all in together, is like, how do people feel safe, like giving their money for something for themselves, right? How do they feel safety, connection, and fulfillment when they've been ping-ponged by all those like funnel emails that like just bombard you with so much information and just like ping, and you can't do it without us, and then you do it and you sign up, and then they don't give you the thing that they said they were going to give you, and you don't have time to like sue every little person to fulfill themselves. And I think what's going to happen is the let's get on a call kind of stuff is going to come to a screeching halt because people are going to be like, no, this is my money. I'm holding on to it. I want to wait
Yeah.
until I feel comfortable. And so I think for those of us that are exploring like more ethical sales, like what I'm doing and with some of my businesses and my business partners, I want people to make a decision from a place of ease and flow. So I want them to feel like grounded. I want them to feel sovereign. I want them to feel whatever they need to feel so that they can decide, they can ride the high and the low and then decide.
There
So
you go.
could you
And
talk,
then, yeah,
could
one of
you
the reasons I always enjoyed commercial type sales versus more of a kind of an individual retail.
here's the thing though now there are so many entrepreneurs that came out of the pandemic because they
Yeah.
all got like a little bit of money and they all didn't have to go to work. So what happened is what did they have? They couldn't hang out with their friends and get distracted. They had to go in. They had to do deep inner work on themselves because they had nothing else that they could do. And what did they realize? What the fuck am I doing with my life? What am I doing? Why am I doing that? Oh, I got some money coming in. I'm going to start a little business. And so now we have a ton of like entrepreneurs or self-employed or people with their own businesses now. And so now it's like, how do you market to like those people that need something that you could help them with?
But yeah, I would agree with that.
So like the big corporate clients. So when I used to work in food science and electroplating and all that, what was that like 15 years ago? There's a big box store. It's a store that comes out of the Arkansas area. I'm not going to name any names here, but what they would do to chemistry suppliers is they would come in like for ingredients or put together little supplements or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, we're gonna buy 1 million bottles and units and all this stuff. Oh, this is amazing. So as a small company, you're like, oh yeah, that's right up. This is great. This money is gonna be coming in. This is gonna be amazing. And as a small company, you let out all this money to buy the bottles, buy the labels, buy the this, buy the this. And then you buy all the ingredients. And maybe a big company like puts in a little bit of money to get you going. Oh, we're going to put in more money. And then they're like, oh, no, you know what? We want 2 million bottles, but we want it at this price. But you just laid out all your money. And then what would happen is you would have to fill the orders just to cover your ends, or not even that. And then this big box store would come in and they would buy the little mom and pop supplement places and they would go bankrupt,
Yeah.
whatever, because they couldn't cover it. So now it's like they've seen that with companies. I know from your perspective, like 30 years ago, it was easier to work with like corporate thing because back then it was like more, it flowed like that. But
I
like
understand.
nowadays, what I've seen is like corporate clients do some like not so good stuff to the little guy. And so now that I'm on the little guy side, I'm like, ooh, I see what you're doing. But I'm also seeing as a little guy, how could I work for the other little guys? The little guys. I'm talking people that make 100,000, 200,000, million, $10 million a year, right? I'm not talking $1 billion, right?
Yeah.
But what can we do in that ring of having ethical sales, helping each other out, like having an energetic exchange with trust, safety, connection, fulfillment, and also have some energetic cash flow moving?
Oh, you have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to.
So, like in light of that story with the big box store and like crushing the little guy, like how does somebody like regulate their nervous system to be mindful of watching out for that as the little guy?
Very much. Yes. Because the little guy, you're going to really feel it because chances this is your livelihood. And the big box, you're just one of, if I'm the big box guy and I'm
Hmm.
dealing with various entities, you're just one little speck, unfortunately. But it's 100% to you or 90% to you being the supplier to the big box store.
And
And it's crushing. And you're right. And
we've
that's why
seen,
it's a matter of getting a lot of little things going. So not
yeah,
one thing as a hiccup is going to cascade and make it like a domino effect and just wipe you out.
if you have one thing, you're just going like this, right?
Oh yeah,
But if you
yeah,
have 10 things going up and down all at the same time, it's okay, what direction am I going? And it's like,
right.
is that a direction that I like? And Do I feel good about that? Do I feel like I'm like, do I feel good about how I'm doing it? Does it feel ethical? Does it feel like it's part of society? Does it feel good to your body? Because like you said, when you walked into that meeting, your body knew. Your body
Oh,
knew what
I
to do.
had it. It had gotten out in the company with other salespeople. Oh my God, Jim, this is the biggest ever. This is the biggest ever. And we
And
had,
what kind of CEO says, "Why are we here today?"
yeah,
Like
that was, I can
that is
still
not.
see him sitting in his nice starched Nordstrom white shirt, leaning back, and I can hear that chair creak as he puts his hands behind. What can I do for you guys today?
Yeah.
I knew, oh, Jim, you are screwed because I had people the week before, and it was all known throughout the company. Oh my God. And they started worrying about the commission being paid, wanted to negotiate the bid. No, we agreed upon this. This is what it's going to be. So people are saying, oh my God, what are you going to buy with that? Are you going to go out and buy stuff now? No, I said, again, I haven't gotten any money. I'm not going to spend something that I don't have. So anyway, when he said that, I go, whoa, it's a good thing I didn't spend anything.
But like
Nada.
the other part of it too would be like if you're like, I'm not going to spend money and you're like worried about it. But on the other side of it, if you're like, oh, like this is going to come in and this is going to work out, I'm going to make it all work out. And you change the energetics of the interaction.
Oh,
Like
yes.
it'd be interesting to, I'm sure that's happened in other deals too, right? You're like, no, this is going to happen. I know it. I'm trusting. I'm moving forward. The next step, this deal is fucking going to happen or whatever.
And that's why I never tell my sales manager because all of a sudden they get too excited and you're
Right.
still working on it. You haven't finalized, but you're working on it.
That's
Just give
the,
them enough information to keep them off my back. You
well,
know?
and now that I've pivoted to this online space, they say oftentimes your clients will buy in the same way that you buy. And so now I was like, huh, how do I buy? And then I'm like, I've been reflecting on that. I did entrepreneur stuff before, and then I
Mm-hmm.
worked like corporate stuff. Like I've done a ton of different stuff. And so now I'm like, wait, how do I buy right now? Usually I buy right now by looking at what people are doing. If I feel the vibe, I'm like, okay, like there's some, it's like the whole, like we talked about earlier, like trust, engaging your customers. Like they make content that I want to interact with. Then we're like communicating, like in the direct messages, little, we used to call them private messages, PMs, but now we call them DMs, direct message. And I'm like, okay. And then you don't, if people are like, at me, you need to sign up for this thing and it's a limited time thing. I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'm not interested.
And you got to sign up now.
I'm like, no, I'm gonna
Yeah.
no. And then when people, I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Or maybe it comes later, or maybe it's sign up early or whatever. But it usually comes from when I'm like, I ride the high and then the low, and then I decide. Because, or I can also know like intuitively, like I know that they can help me. I know that that can help myself or whatever. So it's like me making a decision to sign up for something from a place of ease in my nervous system. Then I know
Right.
I feel good about it. And so then I'm like, okay, people will buy from me when they feel that way. And that's what I've been noticing. I have some Gen X and baby boomer clients, in particular, those demographics, they really need to like be with you to do the thing. And so they really prefer in real life. Zoom is okay, but if I can sit down with them with the phone or whatever we're trying to do, and they can be more in them in being in their self and creating in the moment, they feel more at ease.
Sure. And going back what you alluded to, the highs and the lows and the feelings to level this thing out, is the more things you have going on will allow you to get on a trajectory that you're not going to be ultimately feeling the low lows or the high highs. You're going to be feeling good.
Right.
And the main thing is in selling is you got to feel good. You get too low, then it triggers, I just think, other things in your mental and your psyche that it drives you in a different direction. The old adage, you came to the fork in the road, well, you took a fork. And which way are you going to go? And one thing I found out too in direct selling is once you got a nice sale, immediately go out there and try to make another one. Go contact somebody because the endorphins in your brain, you are so excited. I'd get a minimal sale of somebody that I never expected. immediately pick up the phone or go visit, go see somebody
You,
because you're enthused, man. You got that mojo going.
you know what they call that now?
What is
They call that now you're in the energetics of the flow of creating with the universe. That's what they
oh,
talk about now.
oh, okay.
And so they're like, so yes, there's brain chemistry going on, but also there's other things where it's like you're syncing up with creating and sales. And so yeah, call the next person or
Yeah,
make that connection. And just this kind of reminds me too of like the longevity of the relationship. It's okay, like I feel a certain way and they feel a certain way, and it like comes around again because that you're attracting what you want. It's like the law of attraction stuff. It's like
right,
if you just had a great sale, you already have the energetics of that sale, so why not go for another one? And then you're like, because that worked, and then you're like, okay, I feel it. Like you feel it in your body. And what's interesting is I'm looking into this human design astrology stuff. And like for me, they said I'm emotional manifesting generator. So for me, when I heard you have to ride the high and then the low and then decide, I was like, oh, because things when I reacted of the high of wow, this is so amazing. You need to sign up right now and you need to do it. I'm like, every time I did something like that, it was like crash. Or
yes,
or in the low of you need to sign up and I'm going to help you with all this stuff. And then I gave my power away thinking that they were going to fucking actually help me. And I'm like, no. So now I'm like, I see your stuff. I see your high pressure sale. And I'm like, you know what? I say, you know what? I'm not interested right now, but I'm still interested, right? Then it's in the low spot, and then we can come back out and figure out where we're at.
there you go. Yeah, and it makes
Also,
it then it's got to be a win.
yeah, that's the thing too. I've also seen I've put out a lot and believed in a lot of other people's offers, and now I'm like, okay, now it's time for me to have that where people want me to do more stuff for them. So it's been interesting, like this process of the longevity of the relationship, because some people that I've been talking to for 6 months all of a sudden came through and were like, hey, I want you to do this, and I want you to do this, and I want you to... and now I'm like getting busy, and so now I'm like, I got to streamline my ops, right? Like my big thing is that flow and ease, non-obvious disabilities to abilities, and now I'm like, okay, I need to look at my ops to streamline so that I can go through faster. Like I organize things with like important, not important, timely, and not so time pressure. And then you have to figure out what am I delegating? What am I hiring somebody to do? And
Mhm.
what do I need to do to grow my business?
That's the main goal is get that upward trajectory of growing your business and weeding out. Sometimes you have to say no to people.
Oh,
Sometimes you can't take on certain clients. I found that out the same way. It's like this guy, yeah, there's some potential, but man, I've heard some bad stories about this or that. And
well,
it's
sometimes
one,
that's other people's stories too. So you have to go feel if it's a fit for you.
oh, exactly. Whether or not it's going to be like, it's again, it's got to be a good fit for you as the provider and a good fit for the person there's going to be the consumer on the whole item.
Yeah, and I think now with so many people having their own businesses and everybody's trying to figure it out, work together, like we're seeing that shift of the predatory tactics aren't really working, like running into a brick wall. But if you've done the whole predictable path for so long, how do you pivot to be like at ease if you're so like go?
Oh, yeah.
Then all of a sudden go's not working. That's a big adjustment to come back to like, all right, I'm going to get centered and grounded. I'm going to make sales or I'm going to do things with people, collaborations from a place of ease.
Yeah. You got to do what you feel comfortable with. If you don't feel comfortable with, that means you're not going to be thinking forward in how to close the sale or help the customer out. And you mentioned that some of the deals you think about, and I have the same thing. All of a sudden, I order something and I go, "Crap! Why did I? What did I really need that? Do I really want that?" Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, like with this shift with more and more people being on like kind of sales, they have a lot of people have their own business now. So
Oh, they do.
there's a lot of other services that are people are looking for. There's a lot of boutique things and like People are trying to get all their bookkeeping organized because 80,000 Mr. Smith agents just got hired to
Get ready.
go after your Venmo business.
Wow, don't they are gonna try.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs like they got all their shit commingled, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, kind of start separating that out. Get your
You
business.
have to.
Sometimes it's tough to like make that transition unless you have a ton of money that you can just dump into a business
Right.
and go. And I think in a previous call you mentioned like a lot of a lot of businesses start that are undercapitalized, and it's if you're undercapitalized, like you got to hustle, you got to do it all. Because like I had hired some virtual assistants to help me, and then I realized it was like no one can do it as fast as I can in the way I can. Even though like I have some nerve damage, I'm still really quick on the computer. So now I have to be quick so that I can
Right.
get in and get out and deal with pain or whatever.
And,
And
and keep organized.
yeah, and keep organized. And that's been huge. Like just starting business with my business partner and boo. I have some content about that.
Do I happen to know your business partner?
Yeah. Well, at
Oh,
least so it's like just getting organized, eliminate, optimize, delegate, hire people for the delegate piece, or be quick with yourself and be methodical and thorough and get organized. Yeah, you're right. All that stuff. And I think this is where we're seeing the shift. People, shit gets lost in the digital fucking cloud of the abyss, right? You might as well throw the shit in the Marianas
well
Trench,
put.
you know?
Well put.
Thank you. And so now I'm like, okay, let me get some post-it notes and like put them on the
Okay.
wall, get organized. And I've been posting content about this with the post-it notes, and people are like, wow. And I'm like, because you can see it. And when you're done with it, you could stab it on a short order skewer and you feel like I'm like accomplished. I'm done. So
I like that idea. I used to line things out on my notepad.
yeah.
That was my sense of accomplishment. But I like that idea where you
We
stab it,
stab.
you still have it there. Yeah.
So that came, I was dealing with years ago when I was a teacher, just working with kids with 504 plans or IEPs, individual education plan, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And all the stuff in there, you need to do this for the kids and this. And I was reading it and I'm like, man, shit, that'd be helpful for me. And then some teachers were like, man, you need an IEP. And I was like,
There we all
I'm
can
like,
learn. Yeah.
give it whatever can make it better for me to do a better job in my job, please, you know?
Exactly.
And so I thought of this kid and I was like, I want to get you a little skewer so you can stab the stuff when you're done because that'll feel good. And then I'm like, shit, I'm gonna do that for myself.
Now you didn't bring this little skewer device to school, did you, to present it? Because it's considered a weapon now.
Oh, I don't know, man. You can't worry about all that stuff
I
sometimes. But yeah, let's see. Any final thoughts? Good.
no, I'm it's a whole new world out there. It's what is it? Acres of diamond in your own backyard. And I think the invent with the internet and some of the multi-level things you can do. I'm just too old now.
No,
And
the point of talking to you is you've seen it before and we're seeing it again. And so I wanted to get into the energetics of the relationships. And I think we covered that really
oh,
today.
yeah, I had customers, Austin, for 25 years.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where we established more of a personal relationship at times too. So I think the main thing is to keep in contact